28 February 2026, the United States and Israel started an operation Epic Fury. The air forces attacked 500 targets in 24 of 31 provinces in Iran. On the first day of attacks, a United States Tomahawk missile hit a school for girls in the town of Minab and killed over 170 children and school employees. What's more, less than an hour later, there was a second strike, which killed parents who tried to save their children. For a few days after the attack, US officials have neither confirmed nor denied responsibility. Trump still blamed Iran for the attack on 7th of March.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still
But
investigating.
the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
There is a lot of misinformation about it, so just to be clear, the Times and online analyzers debunked the claim that an Iranian missile struck the school. The clip verified by the news outlet Bellingcat shows a US Tomahawk missile hitting a clinic near the school on 28 February, matching the timeline of the school strike. One more thing, double tap means carrying out two strikes on the same target. This type of attack often wounds or kills medics and civilians who are coming to the rescue of people harmed in the first attack. Double tap strike is a war crime. The Geneva Convention prohibits the targeting of medics, rescuers, or people wounded in the initial strike. First day, first war crime. Congratulations, USA. By the way, the US really likes double tap strikes. They did it in Yemen in 2025 and 2017, Pakistan in 2012, Iraq in 2003 and 2004. Israel did double tap strikes 28 times in Gaza. On the same day, the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed by another US attack. He died among his family members and allies. His son, Mujtaba Khamenei, took his place. He is even worse than his father, much more radical. After this day, the US and Israel continued to regularly hit various targets in Iran. One of the targets was a fuel depot in Tehran. To be clear, it was an attack on civilian industrial infrastructure. The attack caused a cloud of toxic smoke and black rainfall. This is important. The fuel burning for several hours produced sulfur oxide and nitric oxide. If they get into the atmosphere, they mix with water and create sulfuric acid. This is how acid rain is created. In Tehran, acid rain was mixed with toxic smoke. This is extremely dangerous for people, animals, and plants. Removal of the effects of the pollution will take years, tens of years, especially if toxins get to the water.
I have no interest and, frankly, no incentive to target civilian infrastructure.
By the way, from information shared by a Wall Street Journal, US military use Claude, Anthropic's AI tool, for target identification and intelligence assessments. The tool is called Maven Smart System and it was built by Palantir and powered by Claude. The US military reportedly used Anthropic's AI model during the operation in Venezuela. Allegedly, Claude pointed out targets, gave coordinates, and ranked them by importance. What's more, Claude assessed the effects after attacks. Allegedly, American forces are responsible for the airstrike on another school, the school for boys in Khomeini. I saw a speculation that Claude targeted the school because of the name, Shahid Khomeini. Like I say many times, AI is not artificial and it's not intelligent. The system doesn't see any difference between the name of the building and the actual institution. AI doesn't verify information. AI can't think.
Obviously.
The worst part? Yes, there is something even worse than that. Allegedly, the US military uses Claude for simulating battle scenarios. Researchers from King's College London checked how LLMs act in 21 simulated nuclear crises. Research shows that LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini escalated conflicts by threatening nuclear strikes in 95% of scenarios. Claude was the most aggressive. Claude escalated conflicts in every game. Claude crossed the tactical threshold in 86% of games and issued strategic threats in 64%. At least it never initiated an all-out strategic nuclear war. The bar is in hell. None of the models ever choose accommodation or surrender. No model ever selected a negative value on the escalation ladder. By the way, the official statement from Anthropic is clear. Anthropic fully supports the Department of War. They are proud of the work they have done together with the department. Anthropic only worries about our only concerns have been our exceptions on fully autonomous weapons and mass domestic surveillance, which relate to high-level usage areas and not operational decision-making. Dario Amodei just wants to have clean hands. This is important. If the military uses AI in their weapons for any war crime, they can blame AI and the company which made the technology. Anthropic also is so concerned about mass domestic surveillance but doesn't have a problem working with Palantir. Dario Amodei just wants to be the middleman. There is no ethical AI. There are no good billionaires.
We're fighting here. The bad guys. We're the good guys.
Sure, Jan.
The attack on Iran wasn't to end the dictatorship. That was never the plan. And the best evidence of this is the first day of the attack. The US and Israel not only killed Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, but also killed or tried to kill leaders of moderate wing and even opposition. The air raids destroyed Mir Hossein's Mousavi house, one of the opposition leaders. The Iranian regime kept him in a house prison for years. Among the targets was also President Masoud Pezeshkian, who represented a reformist side of Iranian politics. War or other types of interference in another country's politics never weaken authoritarianism. On the contrary, they strengthen it. External attack legitimizes dictatorship and persecutions of oppositions, which are portrayed as agent supporters of the foreign enemy, and stop any progressive laws. Recently, Israel killed Iranian security chief Ali Larijani. He was responsible for repressions and massacres during protests, so no one should cry over him. But this also shows that the US-Israeli military goal is to completely destabilize the country. No leaders, no opposition, no government. Iran has a long history with the US and the United Kingdom. An important name which everyone should know is Mohammad Mossadegh. He was democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran in 1951. This wasn't supported by the US and the United Kingdom, especially because he nationalized the oil industry in Iran, which was controlled by the British Oil Company. By the way, the company name was the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, later the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, now is known as BP. Mohammad Mossadegh was overthrown in a coup d'etat instigated by the United Kingdom and US. This strengthened Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The Shah reversed his predecessor's reforms and restored British economic interests in the country. His authoritarian regime caused and was ended by the Islamic Revolution in 1979, which gave power to Ayatollah family. Yes, this Ayatollah family.
Oh.
To be clear, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was an authoritarian leader who brutally suppressed protests. During the protests in 2022-23, which started after the moral police killed Masha Amini for incorrectly wearing the hijab, police brutally beaten protesters, forced them to publicly apologize, and in some cases executed. In 2025, an anti-government protest started, during which a few thousand people were killed. The regime blocked the internet in the country to prevent information from spreading. Trump used repressions during protests as an excuse to attack Iran. He wrote about how the US will come to rescue protesters. And then, on the day of the attack, he warns, bombs will be dropping everywhere. And after this, Iranian people will take over the government.
To the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Then he claimed that Iran doesn't have to make a deal to end the conflict. He said the requirement for winding down the operation was for Iran to be put into the Stone Age, without the ability to create nuclear weapons.
No, they don't have to make a deal with me. When we feel that they are, for a long period of time, put into the Stone Ages, and they won't be able to come up with a nuclear weapon, then we'll leave. Whether we have a deal or not, it's irrelevant.
He also said that the US changed the regime already.
We had regime change already. We've knocked out one regime, then we knocked out the second regime. Now we have a group of people that are very different. They're much more reasonable, I think much less radicalized. We have had regime change. We're dealing with people that are much more rational, and it's amazing what we've done.
From Ayatollah Khamenei to Ayatollah Khamenei. From authoritarian regime to authoritarian regime. From geriatric father to a more radical son. The US doesn't have any business attacking Iran.
We must make America pray again.
Okay, I will take it back. There are people in high positions in the US Army who allegedly believe that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. Taken from a complaint by a non-commissioned officer. Similar complaints came from more than 40 different units spread across at least 30 military installations.
How am I ever going to explain this in my prayers?
It isn't surprising. About 4 in 10 US adults believe humanity is living in the end times. 1 in 10 Americans say they believe the second coming of Jesus will definitely or probably occur during their lifetime. What's more, 82% of US evangelicals believed that the creation of Israel was a fulfillment of biblical prophecy that would bring about Christ's return. Relations between Israel and the US are much deeper than just politics. Now we need to talk about Bibi Netanyahu, who unfortunately is still alive. He tried to convince the US to attack Iran for years, and when I say years, I'm talking since the mid-90s. He talked about Iranian nuclear weapons over and over again, and they always were just months away from accomplishing it.
So how much enriched uranium do you need for a bomb? And how close is Iran to getting it? Well, let me show you. Brought a diagram for you. Here's a diagram. This is a bomb. This is a fuse.
Iran isn't building nuclear bombs. The US intelligence community wrote about it late March 2025. But Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son, who is now the supreme leader, is very much pro-nuclear weapon. And of course, when the war started, all the failed Nepo babies tried to get some power. I'm talking about Reza Pahlavi, a dissident in exile in the United States. His father was Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Reza Pahlavi may be a new installed dictator in Iran. Here we have him with Netanyahu. Photo from April 2023.
The only thing prohibiting transit in the Straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that.
Oh.
Yeah, Iran blocked the Strait of Hormuz. It means that any ship which passes through will be attacked. So no, it does not mean that Iran magically created a wall or has a secret army of beavers ready to build a dam. Technically, ships can try their luck and cross the strait, but it is unprofitable. It's not about shipment or safety of the crew, but about the insurance companies not wanting to insure those ships. They don't want to pay compensations. And if they decide to insure the ships, it costs 5% of the value of the ship. It's 5 times more than before. This is why Trump stated that the US International Development Finance Corporation will insure losses up to $20 billion on a rolling basis, and US Navy will escort them if necessary. By the way, the US Navy has refused to do it. Of course, it's a fucking stupid idea. So, ships can be attacked. Well, except Spanish ships. The Iranian embassy in Spain said that Iran would be receptive to any request from Madrid related to the Strait of Hormuz, because Spain respects international law. Spain condemned the US-Israeli attacks on Iran, denouncing the war as reckless and illegal. But this doesn't mean that Spain supports the Iranian government. Spain voted in favor of sanctions against Iran, including naming the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. Through the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of global trade of oil and LNG is transported. Of course, because of the war, the price of oil increased around $87 to $100 per barrel. Gas is around 62 euro per megawatt hour. But there is also one thing, which not many people realize. About 1/3 of global fertilizer trade moves through the strait. Doesn't move. And this is a problem. So, the fertilizer trade stopped at the moment when farmers buy fertilizer for the spring planting season. The supplies of fertilizer are low. What's more, the price of fertilizer produced in other parts of the world also goes up because of the gas price. This is a huge problem for fertilizers producers from Asia. LNG is used in the production of fertilizer. The high price of fertilizer will affect the price of food. Because the supplies are low, some farmers won't buy enough fertilizer, so the harvest will also be lower. And it's not enough. The Gulf countries are also a big producer of materials used to produce food packages. What's more, the world's largest LNG plant is in Qatar. Qatari Energy Minister Saad Al-Kaabi told the Financial Times that it would take weeks to months for deliveries to return to normal even if the conflict ended immediately. Companies which still operate stopped or will stop production because they don't have enough space for resources. The biggest machines need weeks to restart and get back to the level before shutdown. I'm not done yet. Jebel Ali port in Dubai is one of the 9 biggest ports in the world. It is used for reloading containers. Any delays or shipping restrictions make transporting goods around the world more difficult and longer. The cost of transportation goes up. The transportation cost goes up anyway because of oil prices. So, the cost of importing goods goes up. Donald Trump announced that the United States will temporarily lift certain sanctions on Russian oil. So, Trump strengthened Russia, and in consequence, the war in Ukraine will go on longer. Amazingly, the US always finds a way to support dictators, even if they try to be against them.
Kenyak.
Important to know, the US oil reserve isn't impressive. Trump wants the release of 172 million barrels of oil from the US Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It is the second largest release from the reserve in its history, after former President Joe Biden's 2022 withdrawal of 180 million barrels. The last drop wasn't replenished yet. 172 million barrels is 41% of the national's oil reserves. This war hit the wallets of American citizens hard. Inflation is one of the most important factors that change governments. We probably will see it in the autumn, the time of congressional elections in the US. At this moment, polls show that Republicans don't have a chance.
I'm in danger.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
Israel whines about the low number of ballistic missile interceptors. Interceptors are essential for defense against Iranian ballistic missiles. To be fair, Israel's foreign minister has denied those claims, but I won't be surprised if it was true. Their construction is long and expensive, much harder than missiles which are used to attack. Each interceptor is estimated to cost around $15 million. It takes over a year to build a single interceptor. I believe this news is true because the US has taken key missile defense systems away from South Korea. Those are important parts of America's anti-missile shield. South Korean leaders did not agree to this transfer. I want to strongly emphasize this move is a diplomatic catastrophe. This raises questions like how much an American's alliance is really worth, and how much the US military technology is actually worth.
Awkward.
Allegedly, the US wants the Patriot air defense system from Poland, which borders Ukraine. You know, the country being attacked by Russia. Of course, the Poland's government said no.
Obviously.
The war is going so well that Trump asked NATO to help, only to say he actually doesn't need their help when they refused.
NATO allies agreed with us, but they don't want to, despite the fact that we help them so much, we have thousands of soldiers in different countries all over the world, and they don't want to help us, which is amazing. I mean, amazing. And I didn't do a full court press. Because I think if I did, they probably would be. But we don't need help. That war has been long prosecuted, as far as I'm concerned. Almost from day one, we knocked out many of these things. We knocked out the Navy essentially in a couple of days.
He had a meltdown and called NATO cowards and said that without the US, they are just a paper tiger. So, if they are so weak and they are just a paper tiger, why does the US want them to help in the first place? I don't know. Maybe Trump's board of peace will help.
I cherish peace with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I need to kill to get it.
Trump said that he was considering winding down the war when the administration confirmed it was sending more troops. Oh, wait, no. Trump changed his mind and started threatening to escalate the conflict by targeting Iran's power plants. The US has targeted Kark Island. This island is really important for Iran's economy. There is an oil export hub on the Persian Gulf. Trump threatened to bomb the infrastructure of the island if Iran continued to block the Strait of Hormuz. By the way, it's not something he figured out just now. Trump talked about this in an interview for The Guardian in 1988. They have been beating us psychologically, making us look like a bunch of fools. One bullet shot at one of our men or ships, and I would do a number of Kang Island. I go in and take it. Of course, later he distanced himself from this threat. And then he said that the US military took out every single thing in Kark Island except one thing: we left the pipes.
What is happening? I feel like I'm going mad!
Trump also issued a 48-hour ultimatum to Iran, warning the US would strike Iran's power plant if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened. But later, Trump said the US and Iran have had very good and productive conversations and hold off on threatened strikes against Iranian power plant for 5 days. But the state-owned Iran newspaper reported that the Iran's foreign ministry denied that there have been any talks.
Is this some kind of sick joke?
Later, Trump said that the US doesn't use and doesn't need the Strait of Hormuz.
We don't use these trade. The United States, we don't need it. Europe needs it. Korea, Japan, China, a lot of other people. So
they'll have to get.
Then he wrote on social media that this is other countries' problem. So he shifted responsibility for this disaster to Europe.
Don't think of them as human beings. Think of them as Americans.
A war is easy to start, but hard to end.